The Fantastic Four Multiverse Theory Explained. Welcome back to Nerdist News. I'm Dan Casey, and today we're breaking down a theory about the Fantastic Four first steps. I know, it's been a while, but much like Robert Downey Jr. in the MCU, rumors of my death were greatly exaggerated. But enough about me, let's talk about the Fantastic Four. While a version of Reed Richards appeared in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and a familiar Johnny Storm was in Deadpool and Wolverine, this marks the official arrival of Marvel's first family to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Besides, that other Reed promptly died of imposter syndrome. Because he's spaghetti now. I said... Anyway, after 17 years, the Fantastic Four are finally in the MCU. But many are wondering, where have they been all this time? Well, the answer is apparently in another reality. That's right, this movie doesn't take place in the main MCU timeline, Earth 616 or Earth 199999, whatever you want to call it. But what if I told you the Fantastic Four weren't always in this mysterious new timeline? What if they were originally from the so-called sacred timeline? You know, the one with all your favorites in it, like Apple Store DC Pearson, and Beth the Waitress, and a third character. That one.
Don't flip! Yeah!
Well, that's exactly what this fan theory puts forth, and it has major implications not just for the Fantastic Four first steps, but the rest of the Multiverse Saga as we know it. We're gonna break it all down for you in just a moment, and while this is firmly in the realm of wanton speculation, if we're right about this, it could be considered a quantum spoiler. So if you want to go into this movie knowing nothing at all, leave now before it's too late. Read. Okay, let's get into it, shall we? This theory that the Fantastic Four originally hailed from Earth 616 has been making its way around the internet for a few months now, but the release of the first trailer recently has given a new dimension to it, quite literally, but we'll get to that in just a moment. Let's start with what we know to be true. It takes place in the 1960s against the backdrop of the Cold War and the space race. It has this incredible aesthetic heavily influenced by both the comics and legendary concept artist and designer Sid Mead. It's just suffused with this sense of hopefulness. While Marvel head honcho and sentient baseball cap Kevin Feige has said this won't be an origin story, we do see plenty of nods to the Fantastic Four's iconic origins in the first trailer. Their first steps from astronauts to astronomically powerful superheroes was the result of a space mission gone awry. Now, for those of you who don't know, while in space, Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic, Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman, Ben Grimm, aka The Thing, and Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, were exposed to powerful cosmic rays that altered their DNA and gave them their self-titled fantastic abilities. And those origins tie into a key element of this theory, the film's subtitle, First Steps. Now, given the film's 1960s space race setting, it feels like it's invoking Neil Armstrong's iconic words upon setting foot on the moon in 1969. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Now, in this context, the Fantastic Four also represent the first steps of the Marvel Universe. The reason they are called Marvel's first family is because they ushered in this near continuous brand new age of superhero storytelling when they debuted back in 1961. They basically launched the Marvel Universe as we know it today. In this movie, it certainly feels like they're going to be the first superheroes to step out on the global stage of this universe. And some armchair theorists out there are speculating that during their fateful mission to space, the Fantastic Four wind up going through a rift in time and space, similar to what we may have seen in the Marvels, leaving them stranded on the other side. Once back on Earth, these newly superpowered interstellar explorers wind up becoming superheroes. They take their first steps on this other world towards making it a safe, more hopeful place. And that sense of hope, optimism, and progress suffuses nearly every frame of the trailer with its Silver Age comic sensibilities. Unlike poor Ant-Man when he goes to get a coffee back on Earth 616.
Ruben, you are the best.
Thank you, Spider-Man!
However, another theory from Reddit user Armchair of Heresy argues that the first steps could be more literal, referring to Reed and Sue's son, Franklin Richards. And this would certainly align with the film's official synopsis, which reads, "And if Galactus's plan to devour the entire planet and everyone on it weren't bad enough, it suddenly gets very personal." What could be more personal than having your homeworld threatened by Galactus, a cosmically powerful being whose nickname is Devourer of Worlds? Well, maybe Reed and Sue's firstborn, who just so happens to be insanely overpowered. Now, if you don't know who Franklin is, buckle up. According to History of the Marvel Universe #2, Franklin is, and I quote, "the most powerful mutant ever born." This Omega-level mutant can reshape reality and even create pocket dimensions, like cargo pants for the universe. Now, most famously or infamously, depending on what you thought of this storyline, Franklin once created a pocket dimension to save the lives of the Avengers and the Fantastic Four and many of their friends after they perished during a deadly showdown with Onslaught in the late 90s. And while that pocket dimension was called Counter-Earth, it's not to be confused with the other Counter-Earth that we saw very recently, the one created by the High Evolutionary in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Remember that planet with all the animal people? Yes, both called Counter-Earth, but both very different. Because comics. Now, with that said, Franklin can also use his considerable powers to put things back to normal. Well, sort of. At the conclusion of 2015's Secret Wars, which seems to be the inspiration for the upcoming Avengers film of the same subtitle, Franklin used his reality warping abilities in tandem with the Beyonders to rebuild the disparate realities that combined into the realm known as Battleworld. And if that sounds confusing, it is, but it'll make sense in time. Like, the whole multiverse just kind of melded into this one patchwork place of nightmares and freaks ruled over by a god king Dr. Doom, but we'll get there. What makes this Franklin Richards angle and all of this talk of pocket dimensions even more compelling is another moment in the trailer. If you look closely, Reed Richards is seen at a chalkboard full of calculations because he's a certified science boy. But this chalkboard also features illustrations of Einstein-Rosen bridges, better known as wormholes. Now, you may remember seeing similar illustrations on Dr. Selvig's chalkboard back in Thor: The Dark World. You know, Thor: The Dark World, a movie you definitely think about and remember things from almost constantly.
Any questions?
Can I have my shoe back?
Now, wormholes have played a significant role in the MCU before, primarily to facilitate traveling across vast distances within the same universe, like the Bifrost. Case in point, Loki used the Tesseract to make a wormhole to teleport the Chitauri invasion force to New York City back in 2012's Avengers. However, many theoretical physicists posit that wormholes can be used not just to transport you across vast distances in space, but moments in time as well, or in the MCU's case, perhaps to another timeline. There's a second illustration on this chalkboard of a wormhole on the left-hand side of the screen. There are 2 points labeled enter and exit, and on the side of that illustration to the right, it looks like what appears to read another universe. So clearly Reed is researching multiversal travel, but the real question is, why? Apart from Reed's insatiable thirst for knowledge, this could be connected to that personal crisis referenced in the film synopsis. Now, this could just be an instance of demonstrating Reed's considerable command of science, but this is the Multiverse Saga. Rifts in the fabric of the space-time continuum, they're kind of a load-bearing plot device. So, with that in mind, maybe he's trying to reverse engineer the means through which the Fantastic Four came to be stranded in this new reality. As for what reality this is, it could be one we've seen before from another angle, according to some theorists. Specifically, the one at the end of the Marvels, where Monica Rambeau finds herself stranded in another universe, face to face with her very alive superhero mother and Kelsey Grammer.
I am not a man who betrays his principles.
No, not as Frasier, but the second most erudite character he's played, the Beast.
You somehow crossed through a tear in space-time. You are now in a reality parallel to your own.
Or, it could be another world entirely. Maybe the world in which they exist is a pocket dimension in and of itself, and the Fantastic Four are unwittingly trying to find a way to escape. Now keep in mind, Franklin Richards was like 6 years old when he created this universe to save his parents and their superpowered friends. So anything is possible. In Franklin's version of Counter-Earth, no one could remember their previous lives in their old reality. Everyone was imbued with false memories, there was false history, they lived their lives in blissful ignorance. And that's a move the MCU has pulled not once, but twice before with WandaVision and Spider-Man No Way Home. So what about a third time? We'll have to see. But now that we've laid out some of the structure of this theory, we have to ask a more important question. Does it hold water, or is it like Reed Richards? A bit of a stretch. Honestly, I may have theory-pilled myself with this one, meaning it's probably as simple as Reed Richards researching the concept for traveling to another universe just for the sake of traveling to another universe. He's a very smart guy, a genius-level character. But, on the other hand, It's pretty fun. I like it. The evidence for Franklin being in this movie keeps on building and building, and this theory probably wouldn't have felt possible until this moment in the MCU's timeline, because of the Time Variance Authority. Their overly aggressive approach to pruning branch timelines would have been a non-starter before Loki. Back when He Who Remains was running the show, this would have triggered all types of red alerts. Reed Richards would probably get a one-way ticket to the void, along with the rest of the Fantastic Fours of Christmas past. However, at the end of Loki Season 2, everyone's favorite trickster god made the ultimate sacrifice to fulfill his true glorious purpose. Loki now sits at the end of time, tending the branches of the sacred timeline as they grow and blossom into this sort of multiversal Yggdrasil, the world tree of Norse mythology. Now, traditionally, and in the MCU, Yggdrasil linked the 9 realms of Norse myth. But now, with Loki's help, it links countless realms and worlds and timelines through his commitment to giving all of its denizens free will and the chance to tell their own stories on their own terms. Now, of course, we know this is all gonna come crashing down in like 4 to 6 movies from now, thanks in part to what is presumably Reed and the Fantastic Four's greatest nemesis, Victor Von Doom. Now, if Franklin Richards is in this movie, he could play a key part in Doom's plans for Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. With Kang conquered by real-life legal troubles, Dr. Doom is stepping into the spotlight as the MCU's new big bad, and it stands to reason that he could try to utilize his rival's powerful reality-warping child to reshape the world in his image, after the ongoing incursion events ravaging the multiverse maybe threaten to destabilize the sacred timeline as we know it. But that's a problem for a future movie, and probably the future Foundation. In First Steps, the Fantastic Four must contend with the literally massive issue of Galactus, because if they can't find a way to defeat Galactus, perhaps the only solution is to escape this universe and return to the timeline they originally called home, Earth 616. Or 19999 if you're in the comment section saying, how come you didn't say this? I don't know, maybe they're following the signal emitting from the 10 rings from beyond the realm of understanding. Remember that seemingly important plot detail in the post-credits of Shang-Chi?
What is it?
A beacon.
They're sending a message.
No, that's okay. Neither does Marvel. Maybe they're gonna take a page out of Doctor Strange's book, and they're gonna bargain with Galactus to try and give him another tasty Earth to eat. And this would make for a grim parallel to an event in the lead up to Secret Wars in the comics, which, yikes if they go this direction. In order to prevent incursion events in the death of their universe, the Illuminati in Earth 616 make a difficult choice to sacrifice another universe, which ultimately tears that group apart. Kind of like what Wanda did to Reed in Multiverse of Madness, but metaphorical. And I know that seems a bit dark and tonally at odds with the hopeful undercurrent that pervades the Fantastic Four trailer, but then again, director Matt Shakman expertly pulled off that tonal dichotomy of idyllic suburban life and creeping horror back in WandaVision, so anything's possible, but only time and perhaps space-time travel will tell. Anyway, folks, there you have it. That is everything you need to know about the ongoing fan theory that the Fantastic Four were originally from another reality, specifically Earth 616, what their subtitular first steps really could refer to, and what this film could mean for the final phase of the Multiverse Saga. We'll keep you posted on Nerdist as we learn more, but in the meantime, tell us, what do you think of this theory? Why is Reed really researching wormholes? And should Galactus be a cloud or something? Someone call IMDb goofs. Let us know in the comments below, and for the latest and greatest in the world of pop culture, make sure you stay tuned to Nerdist.com.